Welcome. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that this is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I recommend watching it first. The link to part 1 is in the description below. (31) Serial killer murders got out of hand. It's common to hear kidnappers and robbers stealing people away for ransom money. But it's rare to find a serial killer who wants to have the best of both worlds. Israel Kai was a rapist, bank robber, arsonist, and burglar. In 1996, he pleaded guilty to sexual assaults and violent crimes against teenage girls. Key sent the family of his victim a photo of their daughter for ransom money. With this, the family was under the assumption that their child was still alive. But little did they know that she was already dead. Key sewed her eyes wide open so she'd appear alive in the photo he sent. 32. This serial killer won a live game show during his murder spree. Rodney James Alcala was a rapist and a serial killer who got a death sentence in California. He was found guilty of the murders of 5 women between the years 1977 to the 1980s. During a time when he was on his killing spree, Alcala even won an American game show called The Dating Game. The good thing here, though, is that the bachelorette from that game, Cheryl Bradshaw, turned down all of Alcala's requests for a date. According to her, she did find him creepy and kind of different. 33. There's a vampire serial killer from Sacramento. We all know what vampires do. They suck their victims' blood for food. But what do we know about serial killer vampires? Richard Chase is an interesting item in this list of serial killer facts. He's an American rapist, serial killer, and cannibal. In just 1 month, Chase murdered a total of 6 people in Sacramento, California. He got his nickname Sacramento Vampire because not only would he kill, but he'd also drink the blood of his victims. Wait, there's more. Chase would also cannibalize the remaining flesh. Yes, you got that right. A serial killer, vampire, and cannibal all in one person. 34. A serial killer in the form of a doctor. Health professionals are supposed to take care of sick people. But what happens when they intentionally kill their patients just for the thrill of it? Joseph Michael Swamgo, or also known as Dr. Death, is a doctor and a serial killer. Swamgo would visit one hospital after another to find his next victim. He would kill them via lethal injection. 35. This serial killer would release his victims in the woods. Also known as the Butcher Baker, Robert Christian Hansen is one of America's prolific serial killers. Between 1971 until 1983, Hansen had abducted, raped, and murdered 17 women in Anchorage, Alaska. What's sickening with his killing technique is that he'd let these kidnapped women let loose in the wild, only to hunt them down with his rifle. He'd eventually kill them using his knife. 36. A mother's love led her to become a serial killer. Mothers are the best. They do everything for their kids. But Leonarda Cianciulli has a different way of showing this love. She was from Italy and is known as Correggio's soap maker. In 2 years, she murdered 3 women and used their body parts in making tea cakes and soap. In an interview with Leonarda, she did the murders because she believed that these women were some sort of sacrifice. She thought that if she did this, her son would be kept from harm in World War II. 37. Nanny Doss is a giggling serial killer. America has a lot of weird serial killer cases, and Nanny Doss is one of them. From the 1920s until 1954, she killed 11 people including her husband. Whenever police would ask her about the death of her victims, she would giggle a lot. A laugh that could send chills down your spine. Media attention gave her all sorts of nicknames including Lady Bluebeard, the Giggling Granny, and the Black Widow. 38. One serial killer only killed women during their menstrual period. John Norman Chapman, or also known as John Collins, is a Canadian serial killer in his time. He would pick up his female victims using his motorcycle. The bodies ended up dumped everywhere, but what's unique about his victims was that all these bodies were washed. Investigations revealed that he would only kill women who were on their menstrual period. 39. There were many weird serial killers on the loose. Hamilton Howard or Albert Fish was a child rapist, cannibal, and certified serial killer. We already know what he does for fun. But what's interesting are the things that he does to himself. Fish was fond of burning himself with pokers and irons. He even ate his own poop. Needless to say, Fish was fascinated with cannibalism and masochism. He even told the police that whenever he masturbated, he'd stick needles deep into his pelvis to heighten his senses. 40. One serial killer has a rare genetic condition. Murders often get convicted through the help of DNA, blood samples, and traces from science. But Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo had a rare condition that made it harder for police to charge him. He had a rare genetic condition where his blood sample type was different from that of his semen sample. From his recent murders, Chikatilo was released because the crime scenes did not match his blood type. 41. Direct families of serial killers could be their target, too. Based on research, serial killers have a knack when it comes to blood and suffering. But did you know that they could also target their own families? Edmund Emil Kemper III is a perfect example of that. He's an American serial rapist, killer, necrophile, and cannibal. In his time, he murdered at least 10 people, including his mother and paternal grandparents. Not only that, but he's also remarkably noticeable as he's 6 feet 9 inches tall and has an IQ of 145. 42. There's a serial killer writer, too. Mark Brandon Reed was one of Australia's most renowned killers. One of the most interesting serial killer facts in this list is his story. Reed was a gang member and a convicted criminal. But he was not only known for that, he was also a writer. When he was still alive, he wrote children's books and autobiographical fiction crime novels. When he knew that he had a terminal case of liver cancer, he confessed all of his murders. Reed did it during an interview with the TV show 60 Minutes. Needless to say, everyone was shocked by his revelations. 43. Not all of this serial killer's victims remembered him. David Parker Ray, or also widely known as the Toy Box Killer, kidnapped, raped, and tortured women. Surprisingly, many of his victims survived the ordeal. But not all of them could remember him and what happened at that time. Ray would kidnap these women, drug them, and use them as his sex slaves for many months. Before he dropped them off the road, he would clean them thoroughly. One of the most chilling serial killer facts, indeed. 44. 16 years of prison sentence for this serial killer who killed more than 300 people. Colombia is known for a lot of things. Pedro Lopez's story is one that people would be shocked to know about. He's a child killer and a certified killer who was convicted of killing at least 110 girls. Lopez even claimed to have killed and raped at least 300 girls from Ecuador, Colombia, and Peru. But did you know that he only got 16 years in prison for his crimes? That's because, at that time, it was the only maximum possible sentence that a person could get in Ecuador. 45. Unfortunately, some kids can be serial killers in the making. Children are innocent in nature. But Mary Bell was an English child who proved to be different. When she was only 10 years old, she strangled 2 boys to death in West End, Newcastle. What's chilling with this is that she left notes about her killings and even had the audacity to visit the victim's mom. Bell asked the mom if she missed her sons or if she was sad. Later that year, she got convicted of manslaughter. 46. A serial killer and a ringleader at the same time. Richard Kuklinski was a murderer and a criminal. In most of his adult life, he was involved in all sorts of criminal activities. Kuklinski was the leader of a burglary ring and was a distributor of pirated pornography. He put one of his victims in an oil drum in front of a diner to see how long someone would notice. Most of his victims were led to believe he'd have business offers only to meet their untimely death in the hands of Kuklinski. 47. The Angel of Death was once a hero before becoming a serial killer. Joseph Mengele was a physician and an SS officer during World War II. Before all of this, he was awarded for his bravery as he jumped into a tank that's burning to save a wounded soldier. But things shifted 360 from there. Mengele became known as the Angel of Death because he was the one who performed experiments on prisoners in the camp. He was also part of the doctors who chose who'd be in the gas chambers. Indeed, a serial killer in all their evil ways. 48. A serial killer made his own sex zombies. We already have a background on who Jeffrey Dahmer is. But one interesting serial killer fact about him is that he makes sex zombies. He would drill holes in his victims' heads while they were still alive. And then, he'd pour acid in these holes. 49. Mac Ray Edwards was a child abuser and a serial killer. Mac Ray Edwards was a known serial killer in America from the 1950s to the 1970s. He was not only a serial killer, but he was also a child abuser. Edwards sexually abused his victims aged 6 and up. Most of his victims were from Los Angeles, California. He was a Caltrans heavy equipment operator. With this, some of his victims' dead body part was found in one of the freeways he worked on. According to Edwards, he also had victims that were disposed of in the Ventura Freeway and Santa Ana Freeway. 50. White people are most likely prone to becoming serial killers. In the U.S., most of the convicted serial killers are white males and single. The majority of them come from middle to lower class backgrounds. There are also known serial killers coming from Asian, African, and Hispanic backgrounds. But the FBI said in a report that based on numbers and percentages, most serial killers come from the white race. It might be odd for some, but this is definitely one of those shocking serial killer facts to date. 51. David Berkowitz was a serial killer who claimed that a possessed dog pushed him to kill. Also in the 1970s, David Berkowitz was arrested for the murder of 6 people. During his trial, he initially said that his neighbor's dog was possessed by a spirit. This spirit gave him the command to shoot all those people. Since the owner of the dog's name was Sam, David was given the nickname, Son of Sam. Eventually, his arrest in New York happened on August 10, 1977. Berkowitz pleaded guilty to the murders and was sentenced to 2 years to life for every victim. He is currently locked up at the upstate New York Shangum Correctional Facility. 52. There's a difference between spree killers and serial killers. The FBI aims to establish a very precise classification for criminals. They have what they call spree killing and serial killing. Serial killers in general will have a cooling off or emotional period in between their crimes. It's like a hiatus that would last them at least a few months or even years. On the other hand, spree killers would not have this period. They would string several murders in several locations all at the same period. 53. Serial killers usually do not have normal sexual relationships. Studies have shown that most serial killers cannot keep a steady sexual relationship with the opposite sex. This results in having solo sexual activities, mainly because they cannot keep a normal social structure. In most cases, serial killers would then turn into an unhealthy masturbation routine. Andre Chikatilo was a perfect example of this. 54. Most serial killers have a low or average IQ. Research results suggest that most serial killers may have low or average IQs. It's a common misconception in these serial killer facts that they have above average IQ levels. Serial killers who use bombs in their kill usually have an average IQ above its population mean. However, Harold Shipman is an exemption for this. He was a general professional practitioner and even won several awards for the work that he does. But this does not hide the fact that he's one of the most prolific serial killers in the world. 55. A noblewoman turned serial killer. Elizabeth Bathory de Ext was a countess in Hungary in the 1590s. According to the Guinness World Records, she's the most prolific female serial killer/murderer of all time. After the death of her husband, Elizabeth was accused of killing and torturing at least 600 young women and girls. She did it together with 4 other collaborators. 56. Serial killers do not feel any kind of sympathy. There's no doubt that people who kill for the thrill of it are psychopathic in nature. Because of this, they generally do not feel any kind of sympathy for others, let alone their victims. Yes, they may learn to adapt to normal behavior through observing others. But according to a psychologist, this is a mere manipulative act. Henry Lucas describes being a serial killer as that of being a movie star actor. They just play the part. And in most cases, these killers envy those who are in authority. 57. Fetishism and voyeurism interest serial killers. Studies show that most convicted serial killers started young. Numbers are as follows: 44% in their 20s, in their 30s at 24%, and teens at 26%. They have also found an interesting discovery that serial killers were intensely interested in fetishism, voyeurism, and other paraphernalia. This is at an early age. Many start as young peeping toms and escalate to becoming murderers, rapists, and serial killers. 58. Serial killers have a fascination with those in authority. Reports have shown that several convicted serial killers attempted to become security guards, military men, and police officers. Many also tried to disguise themselves as part of law enforcement to access victims. Some of the most popular names include John Gacy, Ted Bundy, and the Hillside Stranglers. 59. There are warning signs for kids who have serial killer tendencies. Although it's hard to predict if a kid will grow up and become a serial killer, criminologists say that the triad is something that parents should look out for. These are 3 warning signs that may or may not be signs of psychopathic behavior in kids. The first among the 3 is interest in animal torture. The second, impulse control disorder. And lastly, prolonged bedwetting. And while it may seem weird, these signs may have a deeper pathology when it persists up until the child turns 12. Did you know that one of the weirdest serial killer facts is that 60% of known killers still wet their beds? 60. Serial killers keep souvenirs. Among the list of many bizarre and weird facts about serial killers is in this last item. Most killers keep a treasure of souvenirs from their victims. For instance, Ted Bundy keeps a Polaroid of all his victims. According to him, it's a must since he worked hard for it. He said that when you do something memorable, one does not want to forget it that easily.